I'm Thomas King, and my book is The Inconvenient Indian, a curious account of Native people in North America. In the book, one of the issues was how was I going to start presenting this material to the reader? And I thought what I'd start with is the material that the reader knew already. And that really is the Indian in popular culture. If Canadians know anything about Native people, they know it from popular culture. And that's sort of followed us all the way through the years. The movies, primarily television shows in some parts, some books, but mostly it's movies. It may be things like coins where Native iconography appears, paper money. I wanted to start there. There was something familiar and sort of get that out of the way first before I moved on to the more serious issues. And the more serious issues, of course, are going to be things like residential schools, treaties, land. And so I suppose the book is a bit of a progression from the easy stuff that's readily apparent, readily available, to the harder stuff that most people do not know. One of the questions that I raised in the book that has given some of my readers a little bit of difficulty is at one point I say, I ask the question that gets asked of us all the time, what do Indians want? And rather than answer that question, I simply say that's not the right question to ask. The right question to ask is what do whites want? And the answer to that question is land. It's always been land. And I think I make a pretty good case in the book for that being true. And it continues to be land. That's one of the things that I think many people don't realize is that the history of Native people in North America is not something that happened, that all of the deprivations, all of the bad business and bad behavior happened in the 19th century or the 18th century. A lot of that, especially in terms of land and land acquisition and the taking of land, continues right up to the present day. One of the issues right now is native land and oil, particularly the tar sands and the pipelines that they want to run through native land down into the States. And I don't know how that's going to play itself out, but it's part of a larger continuing picture that's been going on for a great many years. There's always something that native land is needed for by non-natives. And there's always been a resistance by native people to go along with that in the form in which it's presented. For instance, we know that oil pipelines are dirty events. They leak. And they ruin land, they ruin hunting lands, they ruin rivers. And for an oil company to come through and say, we're not going to touch the land, it's not going to hurt anything, just give us right of way, and it's not going to change your lives in any respect. We're going to return the land to its pristine condition is just BS, quite frankly. All you have to do is look at the environmental damage that the tar sands has done already. There's no way they're going to repair that. And the great joke is that if that industry was perched on a river that ran south into Calgary and Edmonton and down into the States, I don't know if it would have been allowed to proceed. But because the Athabasca runs north, it runs away from the population centers. And so if those tailing ponds at the tar sands break, as they will, at some point, and dump that junk into the Athabasca River, and it goes up to the Mackenzie and then on to the Arctic, it's not going to have as an immediate effect as it would if it wound up in Calgary. One of the difficulties with the book was that I did not want to try to make it seem as though Native people were all one homogeneous group. But at the same time, if I take it nation by nation, the book would have been 20 volumes. And so I tried to use sort of case studies, specific tribes and specific instances to suggest a larger whole. So I used specific to suggest a larger whole. One of the questions I get asked all the time is, am I going to come back and revisit that and produce another book on the topic and maybe fill in where I had left holes in the first one. And I don't think I will. I mean, I'm 70, and I'm a slow writer, and it takes me probably 5 to 6 years to write a book, whether it's nonfiction or whether it's a novel. And so you do the math. You do the math. I'm probably living on borrowed time right now, so I don't know if I've got that much time and energy left to do it. But there's all sorts of other writers out there who can take it on. You know, mine isn't the only voice. It will not be the only voice. And so I'm looking forward to see what other people do with it.